Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another exciting episode of Trigger Warning Radio. I am your host, the Kaiju Conservative. Now, I'm going to start today's show off by admitting something that's very hard for me to admit, but that is the fact that I owe Dennis Rodman an apology. Now, why is that? Well, because, Dennis Rodman, as you all know, has been visiting North Korea for quite some time. He's visited North Korea several times throughout the years. His first visit was back in 2014. He famously brought a bunch of NBA players to Pyongyang to play a basketball game for North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. And at the time, when he was visiting, he was roundly ridiculed by pretty much everybody in this country on both the left and the right, myself included. I ridiculed the fact that, we had Dennis Rodman, who was seen by a lot of people in this country as, a clown and a sideshow, and that sort of thing. But I was one of the ones that felt that, Dennis Rodman was just visiting North Korea just as a stunt, just to bring, some prominence to a name that people weren't really all that familiar with nowadays. And it was just a rich former NBA star, playing around in the third world and disrespecting the people of that country and the suffering that they were experiencing. Well, Dennis Rodman was interviewed last night by Chris Cuomo on CNN, and he talked about he's currently in Singapore. He was in Singapore a few days ahead of the now historic summit between President Trump and Kim Jong-un, and he talked about his efforts at diplomacy for the last couple of years and some of the things that he has experienced over in North Korea, and I have to admit, it really does look like, in hindsight, that Dennis Rodman was having some sort of effect on the diplomatic climate between North Korea and the United States. Dennis Rodman, according to him, his goal has long been to find peace for the North Korean people, and it's a laudable goal. According to him, after his first visit, he approached Obama with a message from North Korea and tried to get the Obama administration to renew diplomatic efforts with North Korea and essentially try for peace with them. And of course, Obama wanted absolutely nothing to do with it, because Obama's approach to any sort of foreign policy was to just kind of blunder from one crisis to the next, lead from behind, and if anybody disagrees with you, throw money at them and call them racist. So but, Dennis Rodman, it looks like he managed, between his meetings, he managed to build trust between himself and Kim Jong-un. The two became fast friends. He even said, when he brought those NBA players to Pyongyang for that basketball game, Kim Jong-un reportedly told Dennis Rodman that was the first time that anybody had ever kept their word to him in his country. And that is a profound statement here, folks. That is something that bears some thought, and I think that sort of thing, you saw the dictator of a country that is not known for having good relations with anybody. I mean, their one ally in the region is essentially China, and even between North Korea and China, their relations are not that great. And you have that atmosphere of, justifiably or not, you have that atmosphere and that feeling that the North Korean people are always being lied to and always being taken advantage of by the North Korean people. Of course, I mean the North Korean government. And then you have this American coming in, this NBA star coming in and apparently just treating Kim Jong-un like he's a person. essentially, going to his birthday, singing songs for him, and watching a basketball game, and just in general being a friend. It also helps that Dennis Rodman knows Donald Trump as well. The two of them met on the set of The Apprentice when Rodman was on there. He even gave Kim Jong-un a copy of The Art of the Deal. Now, whether or not Kim Jong-un read it, that's another thing, but I think, we can point to today's diplomatic climate between the two countries and the successful meeting that the two leaders had. I think we can point to that as evidence that he probably did read it, and he probably took some of those lessons to heart. Obviously, the White House feels that Dennis Rodman had an effect on the diplomatic relations between the two countries, because Sarah Huckabee Sanders contacted Dennis Rodman to thank him for his efforts. So, he's obviously had some sort of effect. Whether that's, what kind of effect, how much of an effect, again, that's debatable, but I think it's definitely something that we need to take into consideration. And it's because of that I hereby apologize to Dennis Rodman. Dennis, if you're listening, I doubt you are. It'd be great if you did, but if you're listening, I was one of the many people that saw your trips to North Korea as the indulgences of a rich American who was playing at being a diplomat and really had nothing in mind but his own enjoyment. I didn't think that you were taking the suffering of the North Korean people into account, and I didn't think that your efforts were actually serious at all. I know that now. I know that you were actually attempting to start a dialogue between the two countries. You actually had a goal in mind. And, on behalf of the entire country, I apologize for the death threats and the ridicule and the suffering that you endured when you came home from your first trip. If you watch that interview with Chris Cuomo, Dennis Rodman breaks down crying almost in hysterics because of everything that he faced when he came home. And, Dennis, I apologize for all that. You were right. How much you helped is debatable, but I don't think anybody can deny that you did help the diplomatic climate. Would we have gotten here today if it wasn't for your efforts? Possibly. Would it have taken longer? More than likely. So again, Dennis, I apologize to you from the bottom of my heart, and thank you for making an effort and for trying to do something that for so many decades nobody in our government wanted to do. Hey guys, thanks so much for listening. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. How much of an effect do you think Dennis Rodman had on the diplomatic process? Do you think we could have gotten here without him? Let me know in the comment section. Once again, if you liked what you heard, leave a like and subscribe to my channel. Both of those things help me out quite a bit, and I will see you all next time.